So there's two sets of notes that you should have gotten. We made 50 copies. The children are going to have to go outside because otherwise people won't hear me. So the children are making noise, I'll have to go out. Like that, otherwise it won't. So there's two sets of notes. We only made 50 copies of the notes. So hopefully it'll be enough for everyone. If there's not enough for everyone, you'll just have to share it. And then you can photocopy it off your friend. So the one that's on the top of it, it says Sadhana Bhakti. We'll speak from that. And if we get through it quickly enough, then we'll go to the other one. Otherwise, you can just use that yourself as your own material, like that. This one which says Cleanliness in Krishna Consciousness, that one was compiled by Krishna Prabhu. There's room at the front, so if any devotees, if you can't fit, then just come to the front, you can sit down. Like that. Yeah. Mothers with children, they can sit at the back, but a seat and shake out everyone. Why don't you guys move quickly so that we can get started? Come and sit down and you can just sit at the front. Okay. So the one that says Cleanliness in Krishna Consciousness, that was compiled by Krishna Prabhu. And the other one, which at the top of it says Sadhana Bhakti, that one is from the Vaishnava Primer, which is a document which was compiled by the San Diego devotees many years ago. So there's a little section on cleanliness which is there. And that section on cleanliness, if you need to sit down, come to the front. All the men can come to the front and sit down. So that's part of the larger document, and there's one section which is called Cleanliness in Krishna Consciousness. So that's what we'll be discussing now. So, Srila Prabhupada especially said, in regards to deity worship, two things were important. What are the two things which Srila Prabhupada said? Cleanliness and punctuality. Two things. Hands up if you want to worship the deities. Okay, so the deities here are installed by Srila Prabhupada himself. Right? Radha Balga were installed by Srila Prabhupada himself. Right? Gaurnitai were installed just here in this temple by Srila Prabhupada himself. And Jagannath, Balaram and Subhadra, they appeared for the first time on the Ratha Yatra here in Melbourne in front of Srila Prabhupada. So these are Prabhupada's own deities. So we are the most fortunate living entities. In 1977, before Prabhupada left this world, Srila Prabhupada said the most fortunate devotees in the universe are the pujaris of Krishna and Balaram in the temple in Vrindavan. Because all of the Nitya Seva, all of the service that you do to the deities, these are exactly the same Seva that you will do when you go to the spiritual world. If you're making garlands for the deities, it's exactly the same as making garlands in the spiritual world. All the services are exactly the same. So you're the most fortunate people. However, to worship the deities, you must become qualified. And Prabhupada said two things are most important. One is punctuality, which we're not very good at in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Our founder, Acharya, was very punctual. Prabhupada was always on time, or early. And since he left the planet, I don't know what happened. But everyone runs late for everything. Right? But if you worship the deity, you have to be on time. The second thing that Prabhupada said, you must be clean. Now you have to understand what is cleanliness. Otherwise, you commit aparad to the deity. Right? Now, unfortunately, many devotees, they don't understand cleanliness properly. So as we're going through these notes, if you have questions, you can ask, and then you can get clarification. So as we go through, you can just ask if there are any questions.
Can I have a copy or something?
We only made 50 copies. There's two documents, so you should have two. There are 50 copies. You'll have to share them amongst yourselves because I didn't think this many people were coming. And otherwise you'll have to photocopy it, or someone can make a photocopy for you and get that. Okay.
Can you please make it available on website for who scan it?
You'll have to speak to Chaitan. That's what he organised all those things. Chaitan's not here at the moment, so I don't know what's going on. Okay, so we'll start off. Chapter 2, Rules of Cleanliness. First of all, kitchen. Now, Srila Prabhupada said that the kitchen is an extension of the deity room. So the same standards which apply in the deity room, they apply in the temple kitchen. The same standard should be there. Well, it is said, the kitchen is an extension of the altar, so do whatever you are doing in the kitchen with great care and attention for the deities. Wear only clean, uncontaminated clothes in the kitchen. Clothes that have been outside or in the bathroom cannot be used. Okay, so this now becomes technical. So you need to understand these points. There are different types of cloth which we wear, right? First of all, there is cotton. That is the most common. Now, cotton becomes contaminated after 24 hours. So that means you cannot wear cotton the next day. Right? You can wear it for one day. After 24 hours, it's considered contaminated. You have to wash it. You have to wash it in water for it to become clean. Then it's considered suchi once again. Then you can put it on once again. Second type of cloth, like I'm wearing, is silk. Right? Silk is more clean than cotton. It's a higher standard. Right? If you wear silk, technically speaking, you can go into the deity room and worship the deities, and then you can come out. If you take off your silk, it means you can't wear the silk into the bathroom. As soon as you go into the bathroom to pass water or to pass stool, it's contaminated. Right? So then you can't use it again for deity worship. But technically, if you're wearing silk to worship the deity, you go into the deity room, you come out, then you take it off, put on other clothes. You can wear the same silk for 2 weeks. Silk state remains clean for 2 weeks. But after 2 weeks, you have to clean it, either with water or in the wind. We recommend water. Okay. You can put in the wind as well, but that may, in Melbourne, it may be a little bit different, because you don't know what's in the wind necessarily. So better you do it with water, right? Now, the most clean is wool. Wool is considered the most pure, like this is wool, right? So wool it does not become contaminated, right? Even if you're wearing wool, when you pass stool, you don't become contaminated. The wool does not become contaminated. It is always pure, it is pavitra. However, you cannot wear wool on the altar because it drops fibers, and that is considered unclean for the deity. Right? Some devotees may have to sit in the row also. We're starting to run over. So, that is considered unclean. So, wool will not become contaminated. Silk, you can wear it, but as soon as you pass water or pass stool, silk then has the same standard as cotton, which means 24 hours. Then after 24 hours, that's it. Okay. So these are the basic standards of the three. Okay.
We see that the devotees wearing woolen chadars on the altar, so is it allowed? Or?
Yeah, if they're wearing woolen chadars on the altar, it has to be very fine wool, like pashmina or kashmina, like that very fine wool, which is not dropping the fibers. But the thicker ones are not considered acceptable. Like that. Any other questions? Everyone's just going to have to sit in the aisles, or Chidi, do you want to come close? Come down to where Nanda is? Okay, so...
Prabhu,
yeah.
so in the winter in the kitchen, what do you do? If you are not allowed to wear wool in the kitchen because you got to apply the same standard as the altar to the kitchen.
So you wear silk or you wear cotton?
In the winter.
Yeah. Winter in the kitchen, the flame's going, so there's no problem. Okay. Fingernails should be cut short. Wash hands upon entering the kitchen before beginning your engagements. So it is said a Brahmana does not have fingernails. Right? Because as soon as you grow your fingernails a little long, they become asuchi. They become contaminated. They're not considered clean. Whenever you're preparing offerings for the deities, you have to be very careful your fingernails do not enter into the item like that. When you're serving prasad, you also have to be very careful. Sometimes see devotees, they'll take a cup, right, and they'll dip it into the drink, and then they'll pour it into the other devotee's cup, but their fingernails are touching it. That's considered to be unclean. It's not suchi. their fingernails are considered unclean, so you have to be very careful. It means that you have to make sure your fingernails are very short and always clean. A Brahmana does not have fingernails. Like that. Now, as I said previously, when we go back to clothes, I didn't finish that. Clothes that have been outside or in the bathroom cannot be used. So what it means is that if you're worshipping the deity, means in the kitchen or in the altar, you cannot go to the bathroom to pass water or pass stool in those clothes and then go back onto the altar. Because as soon as you pass water or pass stool, you've lowered the level of contamination. In other words, if you pass stool, you're completely contaminated. You can't use those clothes for anything suchi. If you pass water, you're also considered contaminated and not to go onto the altar or into the kitchen. So what do you do? Right? So in Mayapur, Jananivas Prabhu, Pankajangri Prabhu, our leading pujaris in our movement, if they're on the altar and they're doing services for the deities, then they go to the bathroom to pass water. They take off their cotton, off their dhotis, off their chudders, like that. The children making too much noise. Whoever's making noise, the children have to go outside. Otherwise, too distracting. I'm sorry. If they're making noise, they have to go outside otherwise. So they take off their cotton, put on a woolen gamsha, right? Pass water, right? And then with the water, wash their hands, splash the water up until their knees, so they are considered clean. Then they put back on their cotton and then go back onto the altar, like that. But in those clothes, if you enter the bathroom to pass water like that, then you're considered contaminated. You can't go back into the altar or back into the kitchen. Like that.
What about sacred thread?
Sacred thread is different. Yeah. Otherwise, there's big problems.
When you kneading the flour or mixing the pakoras and mixing, you put your nail in there.
You have to be practical. It means as far as possible. You know, if you have to make like the dough, so then your fingernails are touching the dough, you have to be practical. Otherwise, nothing will get
But you
done.
can fry them afterwards, you're cooking them.
Just means wash your hands. Just keep yourself clean. That's the main thing. As much as possible, avoid the fingernails, especially when you're serving prasad. See, the thing is, when it comes to cleanliness and Krishna consciousness, you cannot be fanatical. I know one devotee, I gave this class many, many years ago, and then I was explaining that if you touch the ground, then your hands are not clean. You have to wash your hands before you do something suchi. So then he would come into the temple room in the morning, offer his obeisances, and then get up, and then he'd go to pick up his bead bags, and then he'd think, oh no. So he'd go out, wash his hands, come back in, offer his obeisances. So this is not practical. So Prabhupada wanted us to be practical. You have to be practical in Krishna consciousness, but you have to understand the standards, what the standards are. But don't become fanatical or neurotic. Can everyone hear me? Put your hand. Yeah, they can hear. Okay. So it also says clothes that have been outside. So that means if you've been out on the street, right? It means for a long period of time. If you're going to do deity worship, it means you come from your home directly to the temple and you do the deity worship. But if you've been out during the day, like in the city or so forth, doing some shopping, you've been at the supermarket for a few hours, you can't go into the deity room in those clothes. They're not considered clean, like that. So it means you have to put on fresh cloth and then go to worship the deities, like this. Don't put anything in your mouth or touch anything to your mouth while in the kitchen. Don't rinse your mouth in the kitchen sinks. Now this is a very important point. I see devotees do this all the time, especially with their pens. Right? Devotees have this habit of putting their pens in their mouth. Right? I see devotees do it all the time. Right? Prabhupada explained that uncleanliness, asuchiness, it travels like electricity. So as soon as you put your pen in your mouth, that pen is then contaminated. And then you start writing, so then your paper becomes contaminated. Right? And then the floor becomes contaminated. And then this building becomes contaminated. Right? And Melbourne is. So the point is, just be sensible. It means in your Krishna consciousness, don't put things like pens in your mouth. It's not considered clean. Don't do it. Right? I've told the students in the Bhakti Vedanta course, I've told them 150 times, don't put your pens in your mouth. And they still do it. They just send them. Yeah, in samadhi. It's a sign of ecstasy. It's not good. Don't do it. Don't put anything in your mouth. The mouth is considered unclean. Right? You never wash, as it says here, do not rinse your mouth in the kitchen. When you're on the altar, you don't do archaman in the deity room. You do it before you go into the deity room. Right? So you have to keep up these standards. These are important. Okay. No eating or drinking in the kitchen area. This is obvious, but do not do it. Do not eat, do not drink in the kitchen area. If you have a bad cold or staph infection, you should not work in the kitchen. It means if you have some sort of cold or flu or something, better you're not in the kitchen, because then you can contaminate it. Other people may pick up those things. Sometimes people say it's prasadam. Prasadam is transcendental. Prasadam is transcendental, but your virus is not transcendental. So be very careful. Like that. Sometimes prasadam has been around for a few days. Right, so it's getting old. Right, so in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it says that Raghunath Das Goswami, he would eat the grains which have been sitting there on the ground for days, Jagannath's prasadam. Right? So then devotees say, well, the prasadam's been around for a few days, I can eat it. But the point is, prasadam is transcendental, but the bacteria is not transcendental. That's the point. And you might get sick, and someone else might get sick. Unless you're very advanced, like Raghunath Das Goswami. Right, he was so advanced that he did those things and maybe his body was immune. But we should not do that. We should be very careful about these things. If you touch the floor or the garbage cans, wash your hands. So if you're touching the floor, it's an important point. I see devotees do this. Even I've seen sometimes people doing jagyas, and then they put their hands on the floor in between offering the next oblation. It's not suchi. As soon as you touch the floor is always dirty. Right? People are walking on it. It's considered asuchi. It's not clean. So if you touch the floor, you cannot touch anything sacred until you wash your hands. And garbage cans, it says here. So if you touch the garbage, wash your hands. If you're in the kitchen, you put something in the bin, wash your hands before you keep going. Right? Krishna has very high standards. No unnecessary talking in the kitchen. Right? It says on the altar, right, one of the aparads in deity worship is to speak in front of the deities. Right? When some devotees, when the Panchatattva were being installed in Mayapur in 2004, I think it was, then some devotees, they went onto the altar to help with the installation, and they asked Jananivas Prabhu and Pankajangri Prabhu, they're our leading pujaris in ISKCON, they said, what should we do? And the one instruction they got was, do not talk. Right? If you're in the deity room, you do not break silence. It's an aparad. You don't talk in there. The kitchen should be something similar. Because some of the conversations we hear in there, they're not very Krishna conscious. So if you're going to be speaking in the kitchen, make sure you're talking about Krishna. Or even better, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Right? It should be transcendental sound vibration. Because you're preparing the prasadam, everyone's consciousness becomes affected. Right? So if you're in good consciousness, then that prasadam is purifying. Right? If you're just speaking prajalpa, then everyone else becomes infected by your impure consciousness. Like that.
Also, can there be place in the kitchen notice board?
Yeah, it should be a very, very big sign.
Because when we say something like that, the kitchen members do not like that.
Okay. So then give them this document or tell them it's from the GBC. But it should not be done. It's just they do it all the time. They just have prajalpa. It's not good. Clean the place that you are going to work in and clean up after you finish. A brahmana, when he goes into a place, if it's unclean, Prabhupada said he cannot tolerate it. Right? Just like I came into the theatre before we started, half an hour ago, everything was clean. So I asked one of the devotees, please vacuum. Right? It's not clean. It's not sattvic. And if something's not sattvic, it affects your consciousness. Prabhupada says, if you walk into an area, it's unclean and you're not affected, that means you are in tamagun. That means you're in the mode of ignorance. And if you leave, Prabhupada says you should leave it more clean than when you came. That's a brahmana. Clean the place that you are going... Okay, we'll just say it. Be thorough and expert in all your kitchen engagements. Don't set buckets on the tables without first putting a cloth or a lid under them. Anything that has touched the floor cannot be put on the tables. So vice versa. If the pots, right, except the very, very big pots because they're so big, but the pots should not go on the floor. Right? And anything on the floor should not then come onto the bench. Right? In the Chaitanya Charitamrita you read, one devotee, it might have been Raghava Pandit, I think, one of the devotees was bringing mangoes, which were to be offered to the deities. And he was carrying on a basket on his head full of the mangoes. And as he walked in, one of the mangoes touched the top of the door. Like as you walk in, like the top part of the door. So then, he took the mangoes and then washed them. I think he may have even rejected them. Like that. He would not offer them to the deities. Because he considered that the foot dust has gone up and touched the door. Right? The dust from the house has gone up and touched the top of the door. That's touched the mango which was to be offered to the Lord. He would not offer it. Right? So it means that we should be careful. That's all it means.
How was he picking the mangoes?
What was it?
How was he picking the mangoes? How was he picking the mangoes?
Picking them means...
Mangoes, is on the tree. So you must be falling down on the floor.
No, you can get them before they drop. You can pick them off the tree. So. Yeah, the ones on the ground you shouldn't offer to the deities. If the mango's already hit the ground, you shouldn't offer it to the deity.
But I heard Srila Prabhupada said was that if you can wash something, then you can offer it.
Yeah, technically, you can. It does come up a little bit later.
Okay.
Like that, so. Okay. Here it is now. If a vegetable falls on the floor, wash it off. If it falls on your foot, throw it away. So if some of the vegetables, they fall on the ground, Prabhupada said you can wash them and then you can continue with the offering. Personally, I don't usually do that. If something hits the ground, I usually discard it. Like that. But at least make sure it's washed properly. And try not to drop things on the floor. Okay. Temple room. While sitting, do not expose your feet to the deities or point them at the spiritual master, Tulsi Devi, etc. Always keep them covered. Right? So don't put your feet out in front of a superior. Right? It's offensive. Like that. If your legs are stiff, you stand up. Like that. But don't extend your feet. Try to avoid turning your back on or sitting with your back to the deities or the Vyasa-san. Now we see devotees doing this all the time. Right? When they're chanting their japa, they've got their back to Prabhupada or their back to the deities. It's not proper. Right? Usually the back is there to Prabhupada. It's not proper. When Prabhupada was here on that Vyasa-san, and you see Prabhupada's giving class, everyone is sitting side on in the temple room. Because Prabhupada actually corrected everyone. He said, do not put your back to Krishna or to the spiritual master. So be conscientious. Because devotees, they do it all the time. Do not talk informally or read or write personal letters in front of the deities. Only devotional activities such as hearing, chanting, reading and praying should be performed in the temple room. So you see devotees do this all the time. Class finishes, everyone gets in their huddles and they start speaking. Actually, it's not appropriate. Unless it is directly Krishna Katha. Like you might be asking the person who gave class a question or something like that, but devotees just get together and start to talk. If you need to talk, you go outside the temple. Right? But don't do that, don't just speak informally in front of the deities. When you're in the temple room, the consciousness should be on the deities themselves. Like that, so.
What during japa, if the deity doors are closed and your back, you're chanting japa and your back is towards the deity?
That's okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah, there's no apparatus because the door is there.
Look, those people receive mobile calls in a temple room.
Yeah, so go outside. Just if someone rings you, just say, just give me a moment and go outside. Like I was chanting my japa there a few days ago and then someone was having like a whole conversation. So I went up and I said, Prabhu, can you please go outside? Because it's not polite. You're in front of Krishna, so.
What if the curtain is full and if your back is towards the, the full curtain is closed?
Yeah.
And if your back is towards the front of the room,
There's no offense because the curtain's there.
curtain.
Do not pass air in the temple room. Ashram, living quarters. This is where you live. Now we're going inside your house. This is where it gets embarrassing. Bedding should be rolled up on rising and tied. Wash down the area where you slept. Nothing clean like clean clothes or sacred bead bags, books should be placed on bedding. These are important points. This is really brahmachari standards. Because generally grihastas have beds. So you can't roll up your mattress and throw water in. Not so practical. Plus you've got carpet on your floor like that. But for the brahmacharis, they should. These days they've also got beds. So the standards have gone also. When we were brahmacharis, we just slept on the floor. So we get up in the morning, right, just roll up our mats, put them up on top of our cupboards, and then we'd wash the floor down. Right, if possible. If it's carpet, you can't do that, but if you can, then you wash it down. The point of this should be clean.
What should do the grihastas?
That means just keep your. It means everything should be neat and tidy. It means make your bed. We don't want to come into your house and see your bed is not made for 3 days. So at least make your bed. Okay, now it says here, do not put clean things like clean clothes, bead bags, books on the bedding, right? Your bed is contaminated, right? So you see devotees do this, right? They wash their clothes, they hang them out to dry, everything's nice and clean. You go and get them all and they bring them in and they put them on the floor or on their bed and then start folding them up, right? So you've just contaminated everything. So then you have to go and get it all, put it back in the washing machine, wash it all, hang it out, get it, bring it all back in, and then put it on the floor again. Or put it on your bed. So devotees do this. It's asuchi, it's not clean. If you're worshipping the deity, you're committing aparad. Because you're entering the deity room in unclean clothes. So it means that one very good way to protect yourself is to use wool. Because wool is always pavitra. This is what I do in my home all the time. If I need to take some rest, I don't want to get contaminated, right? Then I put my chadar across the bed or wherever I'm going to lay down, right? Then get up and then you're still clean. Or if you have to fold your clothes, you've just done your clothes, put them on your bed like that. Or if it's on the floor, you can put a chadar down, put it on the bed or on the couch or whatever. Put it on the wall and then you can take care of it like that. So in this way everything stays clean. Otherwise you may be committing offences to the deities. You have to be careful of these things. Even another if we want to get highly technical, so the brahmacharis, they'll get up in the morning, they'll come out, the clothesline is there, they'll get their gamsha off the clothesline, right? But they've just got up, they're contaminated. So you've just taken the cotton gamsha off the clothesline. Now that's contaminated because you've just got out of bed, so that's contaminated. You go and take bath, right? And after bath, then you dry yourself with that contaminated gamsha, put it back on, go in, get dressed, you're contaminated. You have to understand these technical points. Krishna is very particular about these things. So many devotees, they might be going onto the altar in a contaminated state. And then you're committing offences to the deities. Unless you're very advanced, then Krishna will overlook these things. But if you're not so advanced, you have to be very careful. My spiritual master was very particular about these things. He pulled me up 2 or 3 times, I can remember, on very particular points. One time I brought him some new towels. So I was very proud. New towels from my guru. Beautiful towels, expensive towels. I put them in his bathroom. He walked in and he looked at them. And he said, have they been washed? I said, no. I said, no, they're brand new. I just got them from Myers, put them there. Everything was like, so nice. He said, who's been touching them? And I said, oh, the people who work at the shops. Okay. He said, are they clean? I said, no. And he just said, he was disgusted. How could you offer this to the spiritual master? And many things, which I did, different things I did, like that. But he picked me up on these very particular points, because he was trained by Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was very particular about these things. So we have to be very careful. Otherwise you're committing offences to the guru, You're committing offences to Krishna. Yeah? So you have to be very particular about cleanliness.
What can we do with the towel, for instance? Usually I wash my hand, and after getting up, in terms of using a fresh towel to dry, I wash my hand and pick up a towel.
But how'd the towel get into the bathroom?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. After washing, I had to take it.
Oh, you mean you got up and then you washed your hand and then touched it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't work.
Yeah, this is what I
Nice try. Doesn't work. Technically what you should do, even to this day I don't use towels, I use gumshoes. Gumshoes are far better. So you go into the bathroom, right? Technically the highest standard is that you have 2 gumshoes. Right? So one you're wearing, right, while you're taking your bath, the other one is there, you rinse that so it's wet. Once it's wet it's considered clean. Right, you put it there and then when you're finished then you dry yourself with that wet gumshoe. I still do that even to now. Like that. So that way you stay clean while you're doing it. Otherwise you've touched your towel and like that. Okay. I'm just seeing if there's anything else. So it also says don't put your bead bags, alright, don't put your bead bags, don't put the books, the Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Gita on your bed. It's not respectful. Or any dirty place. It's not respectful. So. Devotees are starting to give me a look. Everyone's like... So. The point is be practical. But try to follow a high standard, but be practical. Especially, the point is if you're worshipping the deities, you need to know what the standards are. Otherwise you may commit offences. Whatever you're doing with your kids, that's a different thing. When you're worshipping the deities, you have to have a very high standard. So. Your locker should always be neat and clean. Don't leave prasadam in it or even bring prasadam into your room. So at home you probably don't have a locker. This is for brahmacharis, but you will have a cupboard or something like that. The point is when you go to a grihasta's house it should be clean. Prabhupada actually said grihastas should be emblems of cleanliness. Prabhupada actually said brahmacharis are muchi. That doesn't mean they should be muchi, but he said their standards may not be so high. But Prabhupada said the grihastas should be standards of cleanliness. They should be very clean. So when you go to a grihasta's house, as soon as you walk in, you should see everything should be very clean. Like that. Otherwise it's not a good standard, it's not sattva guna. Do not leave clothing lying around. If you make a mess, clean it up, especially in the toilet or sink. A place should always be as clean, if not cleaner, after it has been visited by a devotee. If you make a mess, if someone else leaves a mess, then you can clean it up, seeing that in actuality, everything belongs to the Lord and His representative, the spiritual master. Do not take sacred items into the bathroom. This includes beads, books, harinam, chatters, etc. So we have to be conscientious of these things. Right, going into the bathroom, right, with your harinam chatter. If you've got the holy name, you have to be careful of these things. Even t-shirts that have Krishna's pictures on them, badges of Krishna like that. You have to be conscientious like that. I know devotees do it, they do go into the bathroom, but you have to be... Personally, I don't wear things so much that have Krishna on it. Because I know that sometimes I go into unclean places, so... It doesn't mean you can't do it, but just be conscientious. Especially your beads and books and things like that.
So are you referring to bathroom or toilet?
Toilet.
What about tulsi neck beads?
What's that?
Tulsi neck beads.
Every time you go to the bathroom, the toilet, you should take them off, go in, and then put them back on. I was just joking. I'm joking. Don't really do that. Because I know you'll do it if I tell you so.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So don't do that.
How about tilak? Can you put tilak in the bathroom?
Okay, so when you go to the toilet, you have to take your tilak off, go to the toilet, come back, and then put it back on. Tilak's okay.
Tilak, putting it in the bathroom, it's okay.
No, it
Some
means
people
that...
take it,
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be putting tilak on in a place where there is a toilet. So many of the modern bathrooms, Prabhupada didn't like this principle. He said this is a Western contamination. Right? In the East, in India, you never have the bathroom where you take bath and the toilet in the same room. It's not suchi. In the West, it's everywhere it's like that. So you should not put tilak on in that bathroom if the toilet is in there. If there's no toilet, okay, you can do it. Personally, I never do it there. I always do it like in the deity room, not deity room, but means in my home, where I keep the deity, where Giriraj is. I'll put the tilak on there. I'll never do it in the bathroom, especially if there's a toilet there. It's not proper. Okay, so.
In Vrindavan, I went to the toilet and leave my bead bag, chanting bead outside. When I came out, somebody took. One of the day, I had to buy a new one. I asked him to chant. I told him, he said, look, be careful. You put in your bag and you go in the toilet. Don't leave them outside.
Yeah.
Situation like that in Vrindavan, you have to compromise.
Vrindavan's different. Vrindavan's different. My initiation beads got stolen in the temple in Vrindavan. We were doing kirtan, so I just put my beads down with my bag. I came back and then everything was gone. My initiation beads. So yeah, be very careful. Vrindavan, India is different. We write a new book for India.
What about human coverage too? Sometimes devotees wear.
It's okay.
You can wear and you can work for.
In your bag.
Yeah, just put them in the bag. Yeah, in Vrindavan you have to be... Also, like if I'm travelling overseas, or I'm going from Australia to India, you get to the airports, sometimes you have to go to the bathroom or something like that. Sometimes you have to take things, otherwise it might get stolen. Or, so you have to be a little sensible. See, Prabhupada would always say, be practical. Prabhupada would always say, be practical in Krishna consciousness. I'm just giving you the highest standards because I don't want you to offend the deities. Right? But you have to be practical also. Doesn't mean you break the standards, but like, an example like that, then you have to make compromise. Like that, so. Okay. Do not stand in your underwear in front of the Vaishnavas or the pictures of Krishna or his devotees. The Lord and his devotees are present in their pictures and must be respected accordingly. Prabhupada was always very strict to cover himself. When he was taking off his dhoti, he would make sure the gamcha is around him first. Right? You never stand in your kolpins or your underwear in front of another devotee. Right? Or in front of a picture of Krishna. If you're at your home, Krishna's in the pictures all around your home. Like that, you have to treat Krishna respectfully. Just like you treat the deity. So you don't stand in front of your underwear in front of the deity. It's not appropriate. Like that, so. Do not waste Krishna's energies, such as electricity, water, soap, toothpaste, etc. If you see an unneeded light or fire left on, turn it off. I have saved the temple hundreds of dollars over the years. Because whenever I go around during the day, I see lights are on, I turn them off. Sometimes you see up in the prasadam hall, the lights are on all day. Or you go into the temple room, there's one devotee chanting japa and every globe is on. What's the point? Right? So this is wasting Krishna's energy. Right? So you should be conscientious of these things. Turn off things, don't waste water. If the tap is dripping, turn it off. Brahmachari showers, always dripping. Right? Every time I go in there, they're dripping all the time. So it means devotees are unconscious. Just turn things off properly. Prabhupada said, first be conscious, then Krishna conscious. Like that. And Prabhupada said many things about his disciples. One time he's sitting in the car with Ambarish, and anyway, it's a whole pastime. But Prabhupada turned to Ambarish Prabhu and he said, my disciples are crazy. It's a whole pastime. Like that. But we should be conscious. Prasadam. Okay. Prasadam's a whole subject matter. I'm thinking next week, on Monday night, I might do a class just on prasadam. Hands up if you would like to come. Okay. So we'll put a poster up. If we're going to do it, we'll put a poster up. How to honour prasadam. That's just its own course. Like that. Prasadam. Touch prasadam with the right hand only. The left hand is for touching other parts of the body. So you only use the right hand. Right? Whenever you're serving prasad, actually in Vedic culture, if you give something or receive something, it's only with the right hand. It's inauspicious to use your left hand. If someone gives you something or you give something to them with the left hand, it's not auspicious. Same with prasadam, you never touch prasad with the left hand. Prabhupada would peel bananas. He'd pick up the banana with his right hand and peel it with his teeth. He wouldn't even use his left hand. Right, that's how strict Prabhupada was. So you do not use the left hand for touching prasad. Devotees have to be conscious of these things. When you're serving prasad, all these things.
Actually, it's an insult to give anything to anybody with the left hand.
Yeah, it's not auspicious.
It's an insult to the person.
Yeah. Especially if you're in India, so if people see you do that, it's very inauspicious. One time I did it, someone gave me something with the left hand, and one sannyasi came up to me and said, "This is not good." He said, "Everyone just saw you." He said, "It doesn't look good." Like that stuff.
Probably if it's a left-handed person.
Then in Vedic culture, if someone is a left-handed person, from their very childhood, they're trained to be right-handed.
But still, because he's a left-handed person, automatically becomes left-handed.
Shaker, you're causing complications.
When I've seen a fight develop when somebody is a left-hander, if he tries to serve the prasad with his right hand, it might fall. So he's doing the right thing to, so that the prasad does not fall. But I've seen a fight develop there. Why are you using the left hand? That was on Prabhupada's appearance day. I've seen it here.
Yeah, so it's a technical point, but it's not considered auspicious. In the Vedic culture, from the very beginning of the childhood, they would train the children to use the right hand. So then you just learn to use your right hand. So devotees, if they are left-handed, they should practice. I mean, writing and everything you have to keep doing. Like Buru Jumper, he's left-handed. He writes left-handed. Everything, that's okay. But you'll see when he takes prasad, or when he serves prasad, he'll always use the right hand. But he's a left-handed person. So you have to understand the culture. That's the point.
My mother did. She taught me to write with the right hand. I was not
Yes, that's good. Okay. Finish your prasadam. Don't leave half-eaten plates. Right? We'll go over this one next week. Very extensive. But I'll just make a little point. If you leave anything on your plate, in your next life, that's how much prasadam you will not get. You see all the people who are hungry in the world, right? They may have offended prasadam in the previous life. If you don't eat prasad, if you leave it on your plate, you throw it in the bin, it's an aparad. You're offending Krishna's prasadam. Don't put more on your plate. Next week we'll go over that, how to serve prasad. It's an art, how to serve prasad, like that, and how to accept prasad. So.
In this temple, when we take Charnamrita, do we take it with left hand on right hand, or do we take it right hand on left hand?
Yeah, very good. So you pick it up with the right hand, you throw it in the air. Okay. Here's the left hand. Just pick it up with the left hand, put it in your right hand, and like that. That's correct.
Somebody asked me that why do you use the pen with the left hand?
We'll go over that next week. Okay. If you want more prasadam from somewhere other than your plate, wash your hands first. Right? So as soon as you are taking prasad, you're eating, you're contaminated. Right? I see sometimes you go to Grihasta's house, right? They serve with the left hand. Right? Everyone's sitting on the table, right? Everyone's eating with the right hand. And then if they want something, they serve with the left hand. Right? It's completely contaminated. Prabhupada was a gangster, I'll get to you. Prabhupada was not impressed by this. Sometimes Prabhupada would go and they would do this system of using the left hand. Prabhupada did not like it. Right? Even there was another system where Prabhupada was sitting with life members and the disciples, and there was like, it's called a lazy Susan. It's a big round thing in the middle which spins around. So everyone was eating, and if they wanted more, they'd just spin it and just put more on their plate and eating. And Prabhupada was disgusted. He said, everything is contaminated now. All right? And Prabhupada said the next day, he said, we are leaving this house. Because the next day, all of his disciples, they didn't get up for Mangalati. And Prabhupada said, because you're taking the remnants of these people who are not very strict, you've become influenced by Tamagun. He said, we're leaving the house. And Prabhupada had already told them he was staying for 3 days. But as soon as he saw everyone was becoming affected, he said, okay, we're out, we're going. So when you are taking prasad, right, you are contaminated. If you want to serve prasad, you have to get up, wash your hands, wash your mouth, right, and in a cultured society, also your feet. Here in Melbourne, it's winter, we don't wash our feet because it's cold, right? But your hands and your mouth must be washed, and then you can serve prasad again. You have to be strict on these things. Someone with their hand up? Or?
This is a bit difficult for us when we are at home because dining table, everyone is sitting, we serve with the left hand, but now that we have to change that. In olden days, my mother used to serve while we're all eating, and then after that she would eat and we serve her. But that doesn't happen these days. Equality. My wife says, well, I'll stick with 20.
Yeah, it's called laziness. It doesn't matter if the husband or the wife get up. Someone should get up, but if you're going to take more, you should wash. That's the point. Yeah, otherwise you're just being lazy. If you're doing this left hand thing, it's laziness. Like that, so.
I have stopped eating with my guests now.
You're going to stop eating with your guests now?
I feed them first and then
That's the best standard. That's the best standard.
If you're cooking as well, like suppose you're serving someone, and is it all right to cook and serve without washing hands, or you have to?
No,
you're
that's
not
okay.
eating yourself.
That's okay.
You're only cooking and serving. That's all.
Okay. Put excess prasadam on a separate plate before eating. So it means don't waste prasadam. There's a whole subject matter, but do not waste prasadam. Right? If it's on your plate, you have to eat it. Right? A lot of it's to do with the serving. If it's served properly, there won't be too much. You'll never leave anything. Right? If there is too much left on your plate, you have to honour that later. Like that. Otherwise, don't waste prasadam.
Excess prasadam cooked and you're not able to finish it, like members are limited, there's too much prasadam which is there, not able to finish, so how much can you do?
Prasadam, if we do this next week, we'll go into more detail, but prasadam, it says you should put prasadam in a body of water or in the earth. Like that. So at the farm we have a compost bin, so we put it in the compost bin and then the worms eat it all and then it goes like that. But it should go into the earth or into a body of water. That's the system. Here at Melbourne Temple, back in the late 70s, they used to go off Kerford Pier, off the pier which is down here, and they used to dump it in the ocean at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like that. But the council stopped us. Okay. Personal habits. Okay. Showers should be taken after rising in the morning. So when you get up in the morning, you have to take a bath, right? Before you enter the altar, before you enter the temple, right? You have to take bath. After returning from Harinam, what that means is that if you've been out in the material world all day and then you're coming to the temple, you should take bath before you come to the temple. It's a better standard, if possible. Sometimes you're at work all day, you have to come straight to the temple. It's not so easy. But best standard is you do take bath before you come to the temple. After long naps, 1 hour or more. Actually it says in these shastras is 48 minutes, 1 muhurta. So if you lay down for more than 45 minutes and you fall asleep, your body is becoming impure. That means after a nap which is longer than 45 minutes, it means you should take bath again before you go and do puja or something suji. After passing stool. So if you go to pass stool, you have to take full bath, you're contaminated. If you want to do anything which is suchi. The morning shower should be cold. Don't worry, I'll comment on this. This helps us to wake up. The afternoon shower can be warm or tepid. It is also important to take a mental bath by chanting Hare Krishna as one takes a physical bath. So, even though it says this here, this is like a brahmachari kind of handbook like that, so you don't have to worry. But it means you take a warm bath. You should never take a hot bath. Hot water is not good for the body, right? It's not good for the health. So you should take a warm bath, warm water. If possible, finish cold or cool, if possible, if you can do it. The Madhajis might find it hard to do it, a cold bath or a cool bath to finish. like that. But it's actually very good for the health. The Ayurveda says you should finish with cool water or cold water. Right? I always do, even in winter, I always do that. I take bath, but at the end, just turn the hot tap off for about 10 seconds or something. Just let the cold water run over me. Just regenerates the body. Awakens the subtle body. Right? Very good in the morning because then subtle body is awake, then you can chant with attention like that. It's also very good for the gross body because all the blood goes into the organs and then comes back out very quickly. It regenerates everything. Has many benefits. So you should do. But never take a hot bath. Nails should always be clipped short. This should not be done in one's bedroom but in the bathroom. And the clippings should be flushed away down the toilet or sink or thrown in the trash can. So if you're going to cut your fingernails, cut them over the toilet. Right? Your fingernails are like stool. Right? They're an excretion of the body. Right? So sometimes you see devotees cutting their fingers outside and it's not considered clean. Right? It's like passing stool. It's considered contaminated. It actually says that bhutas or ghosts, they eat the nail clippings. Like that. So when you cut your nails, you should not cut at night because this is when the bhutas are more prevalent. Right? Sunrise, sunset, not those times. During the day, and you should, like I cut over the toilet, cut it and then flush it, get rid of it. So the bhutas otherwise. Because even one devotee was telling me last week, they said they're having trouble with ghosts. Ghosts are only attracted to things that are unclean. That's all. It means that if ghosts are hanging around, means things are unclean. If things are clean, generally they won't hang around. Ghosts are also attracted if the mind is weak. Right? If your mind is strong, you won't have so many problems with the ghosts. But if the mind is weak, they will try to penetrate. Best thing is you keep the picture of Nrsimhadev, like that, and chant the Maha Mantra. That will repel the ghosts.
But how do you know you are having trouble with the ghosts?
If you're having trouble, you will know. Okay. Nail cutting, tooth brushing, shaving, etc. should be done before showering. Right? So when you get up in the morning, right, you scrape the tongue, that is first. Right? Then I floss my teeth, use the dental floss, floss the teeth. You should do that at least once a week. Right? Every day even you can do it, but at least once a week you should do it. And then brush the teeth. Then you take bath. Sometimes you see devotees, they take bath and they get out, shave, right, or brush teeth. It's completely contaminating. Shaving is completely contaminating. Right? Brushing the teeth is completely contaminating. Right? You do these things before you take bath, not afterwards. Okay. Scrub and file the feet when necessary. So keep the feet clean. You see, the devotees quite often, they have big cracks on the back of the feet. It's not good preaching. People see us and they think, what's wrong with these people? You know, it's not clean. You should always keep the feet well cleansed. Use a pumice stone or some sort of funnel or something like that, but keep the cracks and everything off your feet. If it's not clean, it's not good preaching either. I've seen people in the past, they come to our temple and they've actually said to me, what's wrong with all your people? The feet are not good. It's not good preaching. We get a bad reputation. Use only the right hand for eating, chanting, offering, and accepting to and from others, turning on switches, opening doors, flushing the toilet, etc. Right? That hand is for doing everything. Right? That hand is for wiping your bottom. That's all it's for. You don't use it for other things. Right? That is the pavitra hand. That is the clean hand. Actually, it says in the Vedas that auspicious energy travels in and out. Right? But from this side, it's a different type of energy. So you don't use that hand. It's not. If you give someone money or receive money with that hand, you will lose it. Right? But if you give or receive with that hand, then it is considered auspicious.
So Prabhu, Karan, you wouldn't say that if he was having anything in his left hand, you said that by the time the item shifts from left hand to right hand, the mind may change, so therefore give it off.
Okay. Do not touch your feet or anything sacred, or use your feet to do something that could be done with your hands. You never use your feet to move something. Right? When Prabhupada came in the late 60s, one of Prabhupada's secretaries moved Prabhupada's typewriter with his foot, and Prabhupada said, pay your obeisances to the typewriter. Right? Because all of these paraphernalia, right, we call them Mridanga, Balaram, Mridanga. All the paraphernalia is an expansion of Lord Balaram. So everything we use in Krishna consciousness, it is higher than us in terms of tattva. We are Jiva tattva. This is Vishnu tattva. Right? It's an expansion of the Lord. Right? So you never touch these things with your feet. You never step over devotees. It says this is nectar of devotion. Never step over devotees, never step over sacred items. If you have to walk through the devotees, you put your hand down. Ask them to please move their legs and then you step through. But you never step over something sacred. Never move it with your feet. That's not auspicious. Like that. And do not touch your feet. That means when you're sitting down, like everyone's sitting listening to class, you don't put your hands all over your feet. Sometimes you see devotees doing that, just like rubbing their feet like that, and then they go and touch their bead bag or something. It's not pure. Like that. So if your beads are there and you've been touching your feet, then you should not be touching your beads. Or you have to become conscientious of these things. Do not step over books, devotees, prasadam, or any other sacred articles. Do not touch someone with your foot. To touch someone with your foot is considered offensive. If you have to walk past seated devotees in the temple room at class time, for instance, extend your hands to indicate that you wish to go by, and they will move their knees to let you pass. If by accident you touch a devotee with your foot, you may touch his body gently with your hand, and then touch your hand to your head. This removes the offence. So you'll see that when devotees touch, if we touch another devotee with our foot, technically you should touch that person's head and then touch your head. That's actually the standard. Like that. So if you touch someone with your foot accidentally, then you touch their hand, touching their head, and then Prabhupada said the offence is nullified. Same with the books, like if we put one of Prabhupada's books or something on the floor, then Prabhupada said you pick it up, you touch it to your head, that nullifies the offence. Like that. That's the system.
So just a question. In relation to books or articles which we may accumulate over the years, which is Krishna Conscious, and we may have to throw it away, what do we do?
Donate.
It's a good question. I mean, like old pictures of the deities or something, old pictures or old books, calendars, things like that. There would be a standard. We'd have to ask Bhanu Swami or Bhakti Vijayapurna Swami, something like that. There would be a standard. I'm not sure what the Shastric standard is. But I've heard devotees say things like you put it into the earth. I've also heard that you offer things into fire. I've heard those things. But
In the water, in the river.
possibly like that. But we'll have to get a Shastric because I can't remember a Shastric standard. Bhanu Swami knows these things. If someone sends an email to Bhanu Swami asking this question, then he'll get the. Yes. Okay. Books, beads, cartels, etc. should not be placed on the ground, the floor, a seat, or a bed. Nor should objects, alarm clocks, cartels, etc. be placed on books. Like that. So you'll see, Prabhupada said the mridanga should never be put on the ground. That's why in the temple there is a stand for the mridangas. Right? That was Prabhupada's system. They should always be on a stand. They should never be left on the ground. At the end of the kirtan, should never put it on the ground. Your bead bags, Prabhupada's books, anything sacred should not be put on the ground. Similarly, it says that anything mundane should not be placed on top of one of Prabhupada's books. You don't put your alarm clock on top of one of Prabhupada's books or something like that. You have to be conscientious of these things. If a sacred object falls to the ground, pick it up and touch it to your head. If your japa beads are out of their bag, which they should not be under normal circumstances, that's why we have a japa bag. Right? To keep the beads protected. That's the point. Okay. Keep them in a clean place and do not hang them from a hook. doorknob, bedpost, or anything else. So your japa bag, like your beads, when you're not chanting on them, they should be placed somewhere sacred. You don't just leave them anywhere in the house. Like at my home, I have a place where I keep my japa beads, I keep Prabhupada's books, like that. I don't just leave them all around the place. You know, I have proper places for them because they're worshipable. Right? They're paraphernalia. Your guru has given you these beads. Right? So they should be treated with great respect. Do not take others' possessions, thinking that everything is Krishna's and therefore is one. That is not our philosophy. Especially this is talking about brahmachari ashram. Do not think that everything in the ashram is one. Like that. I remember sometimes you'd see, you go to Mangalati and you see one of the other brahmacharis wearing your clothes or your socks or your chador. It's actually Maya. It's actually Maya to do like that. It's not that everything belongs to Krishna and like that. It's not. It's a false philosophy. It's a Mayavad philosophy. Right? Vaishnavism is personalism. If you're going to borrow someone from another devotee, you say, "Can I please borrow that thing?" You don't just use someone else's things. You always ask. Chanakya says 3 things. Right? A man in knowledge treats everyone as he'd want them to treat himself. Treats all women as mother. And treats all others' possessions as if it is something untouchable, like that. That means you have knowledge. Do not sleep on your stomach. That is bad for the digestion. When sleeping, face east or south if possible. So when you are asleep, face east or south. Whenever I go somewhere, first thing I do, I try to work out which way is east, which way is south. Which way is east? Go on then.
That way.
That way, where Radha Vallabha are facing. It's actually, technically it's over there. It's about there, it's slightly off, but it's about where Radha Vallabha. Where the ocean is, that's south. Well, technically it's about there, like that. So you should know it. So when you take rest, you should always be facing south or east. Your head should be that way or that way. If your head is facing south, right, it is very good for your health. If you're not feeling well, sleep south for a few days, you'll start feeling better. East is good for enlightenment, or spiritual understanding, like that. I can't remember which one, north and west. One of them brings death, and the other one brings disease. North is death, and west must be disease. Like that. So take your pick. Whichever one you like. But so, and do not sleep on your stomach. Right, that's very important. Don't sleep on the stomach. If you're sleeping on the stomach, that means you're sleeping too much. It means you're oversleeping. Don't sleep on the stomach because it compresses the organs. Right, the organs do not revitalize. Best is you sleep on your back, on your left. When you sleep on the left side, Ayurveda says it increases pitta. That's why after we eat, we lay on the left side for a few minutes. That increases digestion. Laying on the right side increases kapha. So if you lay there too much, it may increase too much kapha in the body also. So the point is, don't sleep too much. Otherwise, if you're sleeping on the
south is good for
good health. Yeah. So where you're living, in your apartment, if your head is facing back towards the temple, then or Albert Park Lake, from your place, then that's where you should be sleeping.
Okay.
Towards Albert Park Lake. Tilak should be applied to all 12 places after every shower. Sometimes His Holiness Jayapataka Swami, I've been here, I've seen him walk up to devotees in the courtyard, and when he walks up he says, "Have you got tilak on all 12 places of the body?" I've seen him just walk up to devotees and say, "Have you got tilak?" And they say, "No, Maharaj, I've only got here." He said, "Don't take shortcuts." Right? It should be all places. It's auspicious to have it on all places of the body. Don't just, because no one else can see, don't just put it here. That should be properly means all. And you should chant the proper mantra. Lalate, Kishadam Jayan, when you're making the tilak, and then apply it properly. Like that. You should do it properly.
He used to ask even the ladies.
Yeah, I've seen him do it. Like that.
And he said, if you are going to work, And if you can't put big tiller, at least you should put with the water and a bit of dust.
Yeah, at least do it with the water if you can't put the proper ones. That's good. Single men and women should not converse together only as much as is necessary for accomplishing actual devotional service. So this is from the Brahmachari handbook. The single men, the single women, the brahmacharis, the brahmacharinis, they should only talk enough for service. Otherwise, your mind will start to contemplate the objects of the senses. That's it. Shave your head at least fortnightly. So Prabhupada would say, shave your head once every fortnight. This is for the men. Like that. So you should all start. Shave your head every fortnight. Bhaktivinoda Thakur would shave every month. Right? And he was a high court judge. But every month he'd just shave his head, big seeker on the back, and just go to court. Big Kantimala, Tilak, high court judge. So, always wear shoes outside. The street is full of unclean things. Sometimes you see devotees walking around, they go into the paraphernalia room during their service, then they walk out without shoes on. Right? It's not, or even if you come out of the temple, you should not be walking around the temple grounds without shoes on. Right? You should always have shoes on outside, because when you go back into the temple, if your feet have all that dust on it from outside, you're contaminating the temple. Or the deity paraphernalia room, or the kitchen, like that. So. Once in Vrindavan, Prabhupada noticed that some of his men disciples was letting their hair grow. Different men had their different reasons for growing hair, so Prabhupada had not said anything. But one day in the presence of his servant, Harisori, and Bhagavat Das, Prabhupada expressed his displeasure. Turning to Bhagavat Das, he said, "You look very beautiful by keeping hairs. What is your plan? What is your explanation?" "Oh, I was advised," said Bhagavat, "that because I was going to the European countries, it would be required to keep this hair. But they have won victory in the court by keeping a shaven head," said Prabhupada, referring to a recent New York court case. "I asked their advice," said Bhagavat, whether I should shave or keep the hair." Bhagavat was about to say more, but Prabhupada interrupted him. "What is this nonsense advice? What is that rascal advice? By keeping hair, you become beautiful. This is without advice, this mentality of growing thick hair. We are known as shaven-headed, the whole society." Harisori attempted to explain his own case, saying, "It is about 3 weeks since but Prabhupada interrupted him. "Every fortnight at least," said Srila Prabhupada. And then again he turned to Bhagavat. "Before going to Europe 6 years ago, you were keeping hairs like that. Oh, I have to go to Europe. That I have seen. You like to keep hairs. That hippie mentality is going on." So mostly that's talking about brahmacharis. Okay, now if you look at the other piece of, the other printout, we'll read some excerpts from Srila Prabhupada. Okay. Excerpts from a letter, August the 24th, 1976 in Hyderabad. "If one doesn't practice Brahminical life, he is not to be called a Brahmana. You may be the son of a high court judge, but if you do not have the qualifications, you cannot be called a high court judge. There must be an educational institution for training Brahmanas especially. One is judged by education, quality, and training." So the point is that one should be a Brahmana. Brahmana means Sattva Gun. Sattva Gun means always clean. One of the titles for a Brahmana is Suchi. Suchi means a Brahmana is always clean in Krishna consciousness. One of the Brahmana's two main qualities is Saucham, cleanliness, and truthfulness. In Bombay, even the poorest man is clean. I have been to the Passe kitchen. So nasty. All the pots are black. Nothing is clean. For eating, they use china. Clean or unclean cannot be understood. Even our pots, handled by our European devotees, underneath it is black. You should not even be able to see a black pot. It is not clean. A single black spot, it is not clean. So Prabhupada is making this point. The pots should be clean. Very hard to get them completely clean underneath from all black. But they should be as clean as possible. Right? Especially in your home, in your kitchen, the pot should be very clean. Especially I see sometimes you look into the pot and it's not cleaned properly. Devotees not cleaning their pots properly. It's not good. And in the temple also, it's like we have a problem with this at the farm. You know, people come and cook there. You know, retreats are held there. They cook, but then when they leave, I look inside the pots and they're not cleaned properly. You know, when the devotees clean them nicely, everything's very shiny. That was Prabhupada's standard. Underneath, it's hard. It should be as clean as possible. Prabhupada also says here, we should not use china. China means porcelain. The plates, which are made from the porcelain. In India, the traditional system is that they will use the leaf plate and the clay cup. But after using that one time, that is discarded. It's not considered that you can use the clay cup a second time. It's contaminated. So here in the West, our system is that we use the porcelain bowls, the cups, the plates, but it's not clean. You use it once, it's not considered clean. And we use it again and again and again. So best thing is you use the metal, the stainless steel, or if you're very wealthy, use silver, or if you're very wealthy, use gold. Like that. Actually, Prabhupada said the most suchi is stone. And if you go to Prabhupada's room, just up here, you see Prabhupada's plates are made of marble, stone, like that. That's actually the highest, most clean. Also, it says in the Shastra the lotus leaf, the leaf from the lotus flower, that's also considered very high. I think that's equal to gold or silver, eating off a lotus like that. And banana leaf is also considered very pure like that.
So is it that because the porcelain they use bone ash to make the plate, so therefore is that the reason why Prabhupada said it's unclean?
No. It means even clay, just a clay cup in India, you can only use that once.
Not clay cup, the porcelain.
I know what you're saying, but either way it's not clean. Yeah. For both reasons it's not clean. I don't think all of them are made like that though.
You need to be careful of these things.
Some are. Yeah. Did you have a point?
I was just wondering about like in restaurants, like what's your idea?
I think at Crossways and Gopals we use the porcelain plates, so just keep using them. Prabhupada was practical. Unless you're going to make it all stainless steel or something, whatever's practical.
What about plastic?
Plastic is considered to be very low class. Very low class. Jayapataka Swami, he says to the devotees, he says, do not serve me even out of plastic. You don't even serve me out of plastic. Not even like a plastic plate or a plastic cup. You don't. Everything should be stainless steel minimum. Now, for the guru, it should be silver or high plate. But plastic it's not even. Yeah, it's very low class. Okay. Before drinking water, if the watery pot is clean, you like taking water. In our school days, the seats were so clean, you like to sit down. This is Hindu culture. Cleanliness is essential. In English also, cleanliness is next to godliness. Shri Vigraha Radhana Nichanana. Shringara Tan Mandira Marjanado. Marjana means cleansing. The spiritual master is always engaged along with his disciples in cleaning the temple of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. So everything should be clean. Prabhupada wanted the temples, whenever we walk into the temple should be an example of cleanliness. It should be Shuddha Sattva. Prabhupada said actually when people walk into the temple it should be like Satya Yuga. Very mode of goodness, very clean. Everyone should be very peaceful. And there should be no prajalpa in the kitchen. Want of cleanliness means laziness. If you are lazy, you cannot keep clean. Let me sleep for some time longer. This is the mode of ignorance, tamagun. We have to conquer over rajagun and tamagun. Sattva, sattvam vishuddham, vasudeva shabditam. So if you're not clean, that means you are lazy. Prabhupada said no lazies, no crazies. So we should be, if you're not clean, it just means you're lazy, that's all. Other quotes from Prabhupada. Prabhupada wrote to Badri Dasi in 1971 that in India, the system is that the kitchen is not even in the same building as the living quarters, because the living quarters are contaminated. The pots are thrown out after each cooking. In your country, this is not possible. So the highest cleanliness must be maintained. Krishna doesn't need a nice offering. He appreciates a sincere endeavor. A clean kitchen is more important than a nice offering. If the kitchen is clean and maintained nicely, then the offering will be nice. If the offering is so-called nice, but the kitchen is not cleansed, then Krishna does not like that offering. So it doesn't matter how opulent the offering is. If the kitchen is not clean, Krishna does not relish it. But if the kitchen is very clean, even if it's a very simple offering, Krishna will appreciate that. At least 2 times a day, change to clean clothes after showering. Prabhupada gave the example of the elephant who takes bath and then goes back on the land and rolls in the dust. Don't roll in the dust of wearing dirty clothes after showering. So it means you can wear 1 set of clothes for the day. But ideally, it says a sannyasi should bathe 3 times a day, a grihasta at least 2 times a day, and a brahmachari at least once a day. But preferably 2. Prabhupada said in New York in 1971 to Rishi Kumar Das, Krishna consciousness means to have a clean bead bag. So hands up if you change your bead bag each day. Hands up if you change your bead bag every day. No one, really? Okay, this is not very suchi. Right? You should change your bead bag every day. Because what is your bead bag made of? Cotton. And how long does it take for cotton to become contaminated? 24 hours. So you have to change your bead bag every day.
What is made of wool?
If your bead bag is made of wool, then you don't have to change it. But I don't think your bead bag is made of wool. So you should be changing your bead bag every day. Hands up if from now on you will change your bead bag every day. Really? You should start doing it. It's not clean. Because what it means is you put on fresh clothes every day, right? But if you don't change your bead bag, technically you're not suchi. Technically, it's not like, I mean, how often do you wash your bead bag? Like once a month or something like that? It's not clean. Once a week, it's not clean. It should be changed every day. So it means you have to spend more money on bead bags. That's practical. Okay. Well, a couple more. A devotee asked Srila Prabhupada in Boston in 1971, while we are cooking in the kitchen, if we touch our clothing, should we wash our hands? His Divine Grace answered, if the clothing is clean, you don't have to wash your hands. If the clothing is dirty, you should not even be in the kitchen. Those who do not regularly bathe are supposed to be in the association of ghosts and crazy creatures. In the beginning of the movement, Prabhupada ordered the devotees to wash their dishes and pots immediately after honouring prasad. The devotees did not comply, so one of the leaders asked Prabhupada what method they could use to get the devotees to surrender. Srila Prabhupada answered, the order of the spiritual master should be sufficient. In Dallas and Edinburgh, the devotees complained that there were rodents in the temple and asked if they should be killed. Srila Prabhupada said, no, you should be killed. Because you have taken a vow of cleanliness and have not kept that vow. Srila Prabhupada wrote to the London devotees that every room should be as clean as a mirror. Otherwise, you are inviting rats. Be careful. In Hawaii, Prabhupada was passing by the prasad room on his walk with the devotees, and the devotees in their ecstasy dropped everything, left their plates half finished and ran to follow Prabhupada. Prabhupada led the devotees all around the temple grounds and came back into the prasadam room. Later he complained to Guru Kripa Swami about the leftover prasad and unclean prasad room. When Guru Kripa explained that he had difficulty in getting the devotees to clean, Prabhupada said, if a devotee doesn't clean, he can go home and live with his mother. If you are clean, you are in the spiritual world, Vaikuntha. If you are dirty, you are in the material world. One morning in Mayapur, Prabhupada was taking a morning walk around the grounds. He walked into the outhouse, walked out holding a beedi and said, "Who has been smoking beedis in my bathroom?" In other words, everything we use belongs to Prabhupada and should be cared for in this way. In the 7th canto it says, the special purpose of deity worship is to keep oneself clean and pure. Grihastha devotees should be actual examples of cleanliness. Srila Prabhupada ki. Changing your bead bag every day ki. Thank you for coming.